A woman doesn't become emotionally addicted to you because of how you look, what you drive, or how much money you make. Real emotional addiction, the kind that makes her think about you constantly, miss you deeply, and feel connected to you on a soul level, comes from your behavior. It's in how you carry yourself, how you make her feel, and how consistently you show up in ways other men don't. The first behavior that pulls a woman in is emotional consistency. Not hot today, cold tomorrow, not 1 minute sweet, the next distant. When a man can regulate his emotions and be stable in how he communicates, he becomes a safe place. And safety, for a woman, is everything. If she doesn't have to guess how you feel, wonder if you're into her today but not tomorrow, or walk on eggshells, she begins to trust you. And where trust is born, emotional connection thrives. The second is purpose. A man with purpose is intoxicating. Why? Because he's not chasing her. He's chasing a mission. And yet somehow he makes her feel valued within that journey. When your life has meaning, direction, and clarity, she sees that you're grounded. She doesn't have to mother you. She doesn't have to fix you. She just gets to witness a man moving through the world with intention. And that draws her in more than any line or compliment ever could. Third, attentive presence. This means being there, really there, when you're with her. Not checking your phone, not zoning out, not ing your way through conversations. When a man listens deeply, tracks her emotions, and remembers the little things she says, it blows her mind, because most people don't do that. Most people listen to respond, but the man who listens to understand, he becomes unforgettable. The fourth behavior, controlled mystery. Yes, mystery. Not secrecy, not emotional unavailability, but the kind of self-control that doesn't spill everything out at once. When you don't overshare, when you allow her to discover you in layers, she leans in. She becomes curious. She starts to wonder, who is this man? And that curiosity is the beginning of emotional obsession. You don't have to be distant to be mysterious. You just have to be measured. Fifth, emotional leadership. This is where most men fail. They think leading is controlling. It's not. It's about guiding the emotional tone of the relationship. If she's upset and emotional, you don't match her chaos. You ground it. If she's confused, you bring clarity. If she's overwhelmed, you bring calm. When a man knows how to manage emotions, his and hers, he becomes someone she can rely on, lean into, and emotionally trust. And once that emotional trust is there, she won't want to be without you. The sixth behavior is selective vulnerability. Now listen, this isn't about trauma dumping or being emotionally needy. This is about knowing when and how much to open up. When a strong man shares his struggles in a confident, composed way, not to get pity but to reveal truth, he earns massive respect. Vulnerability, when expressed from a place of strength, makes you human. And that humanity is what women bond with. Not the performance, not the perfection, but the realness. And finally, you lead with your standards, not your desire. This one is a game changer. When you show her that you're not just pulled in by beauty or charm, but that you're looking for a woman who aligns with your values, that's when everything shifts. You become the prize. You become the one she wants to impress. Why? Because you've shown her that you're not just out to win her, you're out to choose her, intentionally. That energy, it's magnetic. These 7 behaviors don't just create emotional attraction, they build emotional dependence. She starts to need the way you make her feel, not in a toxic way, but in a deeply human way. Because when a man makes a woman feel safe, seen, inspired, grounded, and challenged, she doesn't want to go a day without that feeling. That's how emotional addiction is built. Not through pressure, not through games, but through presence, purpose, power, and emotional leadership. So if you want her mind, not just her body, if you want her heart, not just her time, then become the man who embodies these 7 behaviors. Because once she feels the difference, every other man will fade into the background. And you'll be the one she can't stop thinking about, the one she keeps coming back to, the one who stays on her mind and in her heart. When it comes to building deep emotional attraction with a woman, one of the most overlooked yet powerful traits a man can develop is emotional consistency. It's not flashy, it's not loud, and it may not get instant attention, but over time, it's what sets you apart. Emotional consistency creates safety, and for a woman to feel connected, to open her heart, to invest in a relationship, she must first feel safe. What does emotional consistency actually look like? It's the ability to show up the same way, over time, regardless of circumstances. You don't tell her you care deeply one day and then disappear the next. You don't shower her with compliments and attention only to pull away without explanation. You're not loving when you're in a good mood and distant when you're not. You're steady, reliable, emotionally grounded. And this is exactly what builds trust. Because trust isn't built through grand gestures. It's built through predictable behavior. Women are emotional beings, yes, but they are also intuitive. They pick up on inconsistency faster than you think. The moment she senses you're hot and cold, unsure, unstable, or hiding behind moods, she begins to retreat. Not because she's dramatic, but because something in her instincts tells her, this man can't hold space for me. He may be fun, he may be charming, but he's not emotionally safe. When a woman can count on how you respond, whether she's upset, vulnerable, excited, or insecure, she begins to trust not just you, but herself with you, and that's a major shift. Because emotional consistency doesn't just make her feel good about you. It makes her feel secure within herself in your presence. She doesn't have to walk on eggshells. She doesn't have to guess what version of you she's getting today. And that freedom to relax is what opens her up emotionally. Think about how rare that is. Most people operate from reactivity. They say what they feel in the moment with no filter. They're warm when it suits them and cold when triggered. But a man who can stay centered, who can express affection, boundaries, patience, and even frustration without swinging emotionally, is the man who stands out. Because she knows he won't crumble when things get hard. He won't run the moment emotions become uncomfortable. He knows how to stay, hold space, and respond rather than react. Now let's go deeper. Emotional consistency isn't about being emotionless. It's about maturity. It's the ability to acknowledge your feelings without letting them control your actions. You might feel frustrated, but you speak calmly. You might feel attracted, but you don't become obsessive. You might feel disappointed, but you don't punish her with silence. This behavior teaches her something powerful, that you're not ruled by emotion. You're in control of it. And women are drawn to men who have that kind of self-mastery. This doesn't mean you never show emotion. On the contrary, sharing your thoughts, fears, and joys in a steady, grounded way builds intimacy. It shows that you're safe with yourself, and by extension, safe for her. The inconsistency most women deal with, from emotionally unavailable men, from guys who ghost, from those who run hot and cold, leaves them guarded. So when you show up as stable, emotionally regulated, and honest without being erratic, she starts to exhale around you. And that's the moment connection deepens. Here's what many men don't understand. Women crave emotional connection more than physical attraction. Yes, looks may spark interest, but consistency builds attachment. A woman becomes emotionally addicted not to the man who excites her for a moment, but to the man who makes her feel safe to be herself consistently. When she realizes that your energy doesn't shift depending on your mood, your level of attraction, or external stress, she begins to anchor herself to your presence. And once that happens, she doesn't want to let go. But consistency isn't just about how you treat her. It's also about how you handle yourself. Do you follow through with what you say? Do your actions match your words? Do you show up the same in public as you do in private? These small but powerful signals tell her whether or not you're trustworthy. Because women don't just listen to what you say. They feel who you are. They watch for patterns. And the man whose emotional energy is reliable, supportive, and stable becomes the man she can't stop thinking about. Even during conflict, emotional consistency is everything. You don't need to always agree with her, but how you disagree matters more than what you say. Do you stay calm or do you escalate? Do you listen or do you shut down? Do you punish with silence? Or communicate like a man who can handle emotional tension? The way you handle those moments says everything about who you are, and whether she should open herself further or pull away to protect her heart. So if you're wondering why women lose interest, why connections fade, or why attraction doesn't last, it often has nothing to do with your looks or your income. It has everything to do with how consistent you are emotionally. Are you steady, or are you unstable? Do you build trust through your behavior? Or do you create confusion with your unpredictability? Because at the end of the day, the men who leave the deepest imprint on a woman's heart are not the loudest, richest, or most charming. They're the ones who show up with the same steady, grounded energy every time. They are the calm in her chaos, the safety in her storm. And once she feels that from you, she'll crave it, even when you're not around. That's the power of emotional consistency. That's how emotional addiction begins. When a man lives with purpose and clear direction, he becomes more than just attractive. He becomes magnetic. This goes beyond physical looks or charm. It taps into something primal and deeply psychological. A woman doesn't just fall for what you do, she falls for why you do it. She becomes emotionally drawn to a man who knows where he's going in life, who doesn't need her to complete him, but invites her to join him on a meaningful journey. Purpose is powerful because it signals strength, clarity, and independence. A man with purpose isn't wandering through life waiting for someone to give it meaning. He already has a vision. Whether he's building a business, pursuing a dream, healing from his past, or mastering his craft, his life has direction. And when a woman sees this, she instinctively feels more secure around him. Why? Because purpose creates emotional stability. It shows that you're anchored in something bigger than temporary pleasure or attention. Women are naturally drawn to men who can lead, not necessarily in a controlling way, but with inner confidence and vision. A man with direction becomes someone she can trust. His decisions aren't random. His actions aren't reactive. He's not easily shaken by emotions or external chaos. And this inner stability becomes irresistible. Because while surface attraction can draw a woman in, it's this emotional gravity that keeps her connected. A lot of men misunderstand what women truly want. They think it's about providing or protecting alone. But deeper than that, it's about who you are becoming. When a woman sees that you are becoming something greater, not just for her, but for yourself, she feels inspired. And that inspiration creates emotional addiction. She doesn't just like being with you. She needs to be around you because your energy feeds her own growth. You elevate her simply by being who you are. But here's the thing, purpose isn't about perfection. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be moving, taking steps, committed to something. Many women will lose interest in men who seem aimless, emotionally stagnant, or too dependent on the relationship to feel whole. Why? Because women want to follow a man who is going somewhere. They want to feel like being with you means they're a part of something meaningful, something growing. When a man lacks direction, his energy becomes uncertain. He's more likely to seek constant validation, to chase short-term pleasure, or to fall apart under pressure. That kind of instability makes a woman feel like she has to carry the emotional weight of the relationship, and that's a burden, not a bond. But when your energy says, I know who I am, and I'm building something, she feels safe enough to relax and connect emotionally. Direction also creates emotional boundaries. A man on a mission doesn't entertain distractions. He's not available for every woman. He's not chasing validation or approval. That selectiveness is powerful. It tells her, I want you, but I don't need you to feel whole. And ironically, that kind of self-sufficiency is what makes a woman want you more. Because you're not trying to impress her, you're trying to build something. And that's a rare kind of energy. Think about how many people are drifting through life, looking for relationships to fill the void. When a woman meets a man who's already full of vision, passion, and discipline, she's intrigued. She leans in, she wants to know more, and as she gets closer, she realizes that being around you makes her feel more alive. That's the kind of emotional connection that doesn't fade easily. Even in moments of challenge, a purposeful man doesn't break. He adapts, he refocuses, he continues forward. That kind of resilience shows emotional strength. It says, no matter what happens, I don't lose who I am. And to a woman, that's comforting. Because if you can handle life, you can handle her emotions, her moods, her complexity, and that emotional capacity makes her feel safe, cherished, and seen. Purpose also fuels passion. A man who wakes up excited about life brings a different kind of energy into a relationship. He's not dull, he's not draining, he's alive. And when that energy spills into his connection with her, whether through conversation, intimacy, or shared goals, she starts to associate that feeling of aliveness with you. That's how emotional addiction begins. Not through manipulation, but through inspiration. But here's the key. Your purpose must be authentic. Don't fake ambition to impress a woman. Don't pretend to be driven when you're not. Real attraction is built on truths. So whatever your purpose is, own it. Even if it's not glamorous, even if you're still figuring it out. What matters is that you're not stagnant. You're moving, growing, committed to something greater than comfort. In that growth, she finds safety. In that clarity, she finds peace. In that direction, she finds excitement. Because she knows she's not investing in a man who's standing still. She's aligning herself with someone who is going somewhere. And being part of that journey makes her feel emotionally connected in a way that's hard to explain, but even harder to let go of. That's the power of purpose, not just to build your life, but to pull the right woman into it, not through force, not through strategy, but through the natural gravity of a man who knows where he's going. And in that direction, she finds her desire to follow, and her emotional desire to stay dot. There's something incredibly powerful about a man who knows how to be present, not just physically there, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in the moment with you. In today's distracted world, that kind of presence is rare, and because it's rare, it's valuable. When a woman feels like she has your full attention, not your divided, distracted, phone-scrolling attention, but the kind that makes her feel like she's the only person in the room, that moment becomes unforgettable. It begins to form an emotional bond that goes deeper than any compliment ever could. Most men think attraction is built in grand gestures, flowers, trips, expensive dinners, but deep down, women crave something simpler, more meaningful, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood without judgment or the need to explain every emotion. When you are fully present with a woman, she feels safe enough to express herself authentically. That safety is what builds the emotional intimacy that keeps her coming back. Not just for how you make her feel, but for who you are when you're with her. Being attentive doesn't mean agreeing with everything she says or fixing all her problems. It means truly listening without thinking of what to say next. It means hearing her words and also hearing the silence between them. It's reading her energy when she's quiet. It's noticing the shift in her tone or her expression and gently asking, "Are you okay?" even if she says she's fine. That kind of emotional sensitivity doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful because it shows that you're aware, and that awareness builds connection. When a woman realizes that you remember the little things, the story she told about her childhood, the way she takes her coffee, the song that makes her cry, it makes her feel deeply appreciated. Not because you're trying to earn points, but because your attention says you matter. And let's be honest, how often do women feel like they really matter in a world that constantly tells them to shrink, to smile, to soften? Your presence becomes a rebellion against that. Your presence says you don't have to perform here. You can just be. When you're fully present, your energy shifts. You slow down. You make eye contact. You lean in when she speaks. And without even saying it, your body language communicates something every woman wants to hear. I'm here. With you. For you. That kind of presence is grounding. It calms her nervous system. It tells her that she's safe to open up, to let go, to trust. And once trust is formed, emotional attachment becomes natural because she associates you with peace, with stability, and with genuine connection. Presence is also about intentionality. It's choosing to be with her instead of being around her. It's planning a date and leaving your phone in your pocket. It's asking thoughtful questions and listening to the answers. It's remembering the details she shares and bringing them up at the right moments, not to impress, but to connect. Every time you do that, you're telling her, I value your mind, not just your body. I value your story, not just your presence. That kind of emotional investment is addictive because so few men offer it. Think about this. Most women are used to being ignored in subtle ways. A guy who nods but isn't really listening. A man who asks how her day was but doesn't even pause long enough to hear the full answer. These micro-neglects accumulate, and they create emotional walls. But you break those walls down by simply being there fully. And when she realizes that she can be herself around you and that her presence lights something up in you, she begins to emotionally need that connection. Presence also means patience. Sometimes women don't open up right away. They test the waters to see if your attention is real or just a tactic. And if you rush them or try to push intimacy too quickly, it breaks the moment. But when you're patient, when you give her space and show her that you're not going anywhere, she begins to relax into your presence. And in that relaxation, she begins to feel emotionally tethered to you, not through pressure, but through trust. One of the most attractive traits a man can develop is the ability to hold emotional space. That means not panicking when she's overwhelmed, not shutting down when she's emotional, not changing the subject when she needs to vent, just holding the space, listening, witnessing, and being steady in the storm. That ability makes her feel like she doesn't have to carry everything alone. And once a woman knows she doesn't have to carry it all alone, she begins to crave the man who lightens her emotional load simply by being fully present. The truth is, presence is rare. We live in a noisy world, constant distractions, endless notifications, surface-level conversations. But when a man turns all of that off, even for just 1 hour, and gives a woman his undivided attention, she feels it. She may not say it right away, but she feels it. And that feeling stays with her. It lingers. It creates emotional memory. It makes her miss you when you're not around. Not because you entertained her, but because you made her feel seen in a way the world often forgets to do. That's the secret most men overlook. It's not about what you say to impress her. It's about what your silence, your stillness, your presence says without words. And when she begins to associate you with that kind of calm, clarity, and care, you don't just become someone she likes, you become someone she can't let go of. There's a quiet confidence that comes from a man who knows how to lead emotionally. He doesn't need to raise his voice, control the room, or dominate the conversation. His strength isn't in how loud he is, but in how calm, centered, and steady he remains, especially when emotions are high. That kind of emotional leadership is rare, and because it's rare, it's captivating. It draws a woman in, not because he's trying to impress her, but because his grounded presence makes her feel safe, even in her most vulnerable moments. A woman doesn't fall for a man just because he's attractive. She falls for the man who can make her feel emotionally anchored, someone who can hold space for her feelings without judgment, a man who can stand in the storm of her emotions without trying to fix her or run away. That's emotional strength, not reacting impulsively, not losing composure, not making her feel like a burden when she's struggling. That strength is magnetic because it proves you're capable of handling real intimacy. But let's take it deeper. Emotional leadership isn't about pretending to have it all together. It's not about bottling everything up. True leadership is also about knowing when to be vulnerable, strategically, selectively, and with purpose. When a man shares parts of himself, his fears, his setbacks, his wounds, but does so from a place of emotional responsibility, not chaos or desperation, it shows incredible courage. It says, I trust you with this part of me, and that trust breeds connection. The key is balance. Too much vulnerability too soon can feel overwhelming or needy. Too little, and you come off as emotionally unavailable. But when a man reveals just enough to show that he's human, layered, and growing, it draws a woman in. It makes her want to know more. It makes her feel chosen because you don't share this side of yourself with just anyone. That kind of vulnerability is intimacy in motion, and it makes her feel special, not just seen. When a woman sees that you're emotionally composed in tough moments, she subconsciously registers that you can be trusted, not just with her body, but with her mind, her heart, and her truth. You're not just some guy she dates. You become a man she can lean on. And let's be honest, many women carry the emotional load in relationships. So when she meets a man who can match her depth, or even lead her with calm wisdom, it's refreshing, it's different, it's irresistible. What most men don't understand is that women don't just want emotional availability. They want emotional stability. That means being able to manage your own emotions without dumping them on her. It means expressing your thoughts clearly instead of expecting her to guess. It means taking responsibility for your healing without using past pain as an excuse for bad behavior. That level of maturity is incredibly attractive because it tells her you're not here to play games. You're here to build something real. And here's the thing. When a man leads emotionally, he also gives permission. He creates a space where a woman can be her full self without fear. When she's crying, he doesn't tell her to calm down. He listens. When she's angry, he doesn't get defensive. He seeks to understand. When she's unsure, he doesn't pull away. He reassures. That kind of man doesn't react. He responds. And every time he does, he earns her trust, brick by brick, moment by moment. There's a deep psychological reason why emotional leadership is addictive. It answers one of the most primal needs in a woman's heart, safety. Not just physical safety, but emotional safety. A woman wants to know that she can bring her whole self into the relationship and not be met with chaos, ego, or silence. She wants to know that her emotions won't be used against her, that she won't be made to feel too much for feeling deeply. When you offer her that kind of leadership, she relaxes into you. And when she relaxes, she begins to bond. Selective vulnerability also serves another purpose. It shows integrity. When a man can own his past without letting it define him, it shows that he's done the work. When he talks about his pain without playing the victim, it shows strength. When he shares his dreams even though they scare him, it shows faith. And those are the kinds of emotional qualities that a high-value woman is drawn to. She doesn't want perfection. She wants real, and real always beats perfect. When you combine that kind of leadership with thoughtful vulnerability, you create emotional intimacy that feels effortless. You're not chasing her. You're not performing. You're simply showing up as a grounded, self-aware man who isn't afraid to feel. And in that space, she begins to feel something too: respect, admiration, and most importantly, desire. Not just physical desire, but the kind that says, I want to build with this man. I want to grow with him. I want to give my heart to him because I trust where he's going. The truth is, emotional leadership and vulnerability aren't soft skills. They're power moves. They're what separate the boys from the men. And in a world where many women feel like they have to carry everything alone, a man who knows how to carry emotional weight becomes unforgettable. He becomes the one she can't stop thinking about, not because of what he owns, but because of what he embodies. Calm, strength, safety, presence. That's the kind of man she'll crave on a soul level, again and again. At the end of the day, it's not about tricks, games, or surface-level charm. It's about who you are when no one's watching. A woman doesn't become emotionally addicted to a man because he says all the right things. She becomes addicted because of how she feels when she's with him. Safe, seen, understood, desired, protected. That's the kind of connection that doesn't fade with time. It only deepens. When you bring emotional consistency, purpose, presence, and true leadership into how you show up, not just for her, but for yourself, you become unforgettable. You're not trying to be what you think she wants. You're standing firm in who you are. And in that groundedness, you become the man who doesn't just attract a woman's body. You capture her mind, her heart, and her soul. So if you want to create a bond that feels magnetic, addictive, and real, don't perform, don't chase, lead with strength, show up with presence, speak from truth, and watch what happens when the right woman feels all of that in you.